you to join me in the flag salute? Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Sorry.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you. Any comments, any discussion? There's a little button on the top.
Yeah, except it's not working.
The sun came out and we're having.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And there are no requests for public comments on the agenda, so we'll move to board member comments. Do you want to start, Leanna?
I don't have anything. I always think of it after everybody talks, but
We can come back to you.
yeah,
Okay.
that would be good.
John?
It's been a busy month. John Campbell here. Bright one struck again this week. I was supposed to go for the Day on the Hill this week, and it was supposed to be Tuesday. And I had so much fun Sunday, I thought it must be Tuesday. So I showed up at Representative Griffey's office and then later at McEwen's office. And I was able to have a nice meeting with Representative Griffey. And I basically praised him for the things he's done for us. And then my colleagues showed up the next day with the heavy load. And so, and I also got my brief greeting into McEwen as well. I didn't go looking for Senator Sheldon because I thought I had an MTA meeting on Tuesday. So I did, in fact, but I had to wait a day for it to happen. And then I went to what was the name of our group last?
It's the Superintendent's Advisory Committee
Yeah.
on elementary configuration and school start times.
Right, so I was busy advising the superintendent. And I think that, haven't we had a meeting of the committee, the student information? Yeah. So I attended one of Spencer's meetings.
Okay.
So I think that's it.
Thanks, John. Art?
I have a whole lot to report, except I'm not going to report all that much. But this is going to be a mishmash of stuff. First, I got to bring up a little personal thing, which I've been bringing up already. I went to the doctor today about my cancer, and my cancer is gone. Who knows why? But he said, okay, because it's gone. I've never seen this before, but it's gone, and I'm withdrawing the authorization for you to have radiation treatment. I can't
Amen.
justify it anymore.
Woo.
Great, so I'm back to 3 months, and we'll see how it goes, but I'm jazzed for that.
Awesome.
Meantime, last night, I was preparing for this visit, knowing that my test results had gone way down. And what happens, of course, this is the Girl Scout camp, and in the workshop, a water pipe just decided to just go and it blew up. In the workshop, this is a bathroom that we just had put in a year ago, and just the pipe decided to burst, and I didn't catch it until I was heading home from my office, and it'd probably been running for an hour, and the place was flooded, and all I could do was turn it off. I was too tired to try to do any fixing it. And I thought, okay, this is an omen of things to come, but it turned out it wasn't, because of the doctors, what happened today. So there you go. That's a little counterpoint. So good things, bad things. Otherwise, I have to thank you right there, Maureen, for the bus service for a field trip that I took with the Builders Club kids. Boy, usually I'm down there at the bus barn double checking everything, and because of this water business and other stuff going on, I didn't do that this time, but boy, the buses were right there every time. The bus drivers were patient, even when Don LaPere had to grab me and bring me in from the elementary school because I was the one missing. No comments from the bus driver. They probably just said, we know him or whatever. Anyway, that was just great. The buses were superb for the field trip. And then also on that field trip, thank you, Don, for officially being the substitute teacher, because our teacher advisor had some stuff to do with the legislature, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And couldn't go. So Don was the teacher. Nevertheless, I ran into a kindergarten teacher who had been, I think, teaching 4th grade beforehand and had swapped this year with some other teacher. And I'm not going to bring up any names or anything like that, but as it turns out, my Kiwanis Club had given her a scholarship better than 20 years ago.
Wow.
And here she is back teaching with us now. Wow. That was real rewarding. When I
All right.
discovered that's who I remember her particular scholarship really well. Anyway, that was, so good things, crazy things, all sorts of things going on. Otherwise, I'll just skip the rest of it and leave it be. Other than scholarship stuff is that time frame, and went to a scholarship meeting with Laura and other stuff like that, but and Dana too, for that matter. So anyway, that's enough.
All right, thanks, Mark. I've just been kind of casually talking to some of the high school soccer boys team, and they are really excited about their season. They're 1-1, and I think they're pretty good. I haven't been to a game yet, but I'm going to try and go, and I would encourage everybody else to also. And for the transportation department, Maureen, the snow. And your bus drivers behaved so well and handled their routes so perfectly. I gotta hand it to you guys. I could not put chains on one of those big guys for the life of me. And they're out there trying to do it. And we had some crazy snow, so that was pretty cool. And I just want you to tell all of them how much we appreciate them. Thank you. All right. Sir Spencer, the new Eagle Scout.
Okay.
Wow.
So at the high school, we just got our new classes, so we're busy with those. In our leadership and ASB class, we're busy planning prom. And our senior class is working on a new fundraiser to build school spirit and to fundraise for prom next year of painting their parking spots out front. And then all of our clubs seem to be getting a lot more active and doing more community service. We have a couple clubs who are kind of inactive, and we got new clubs. So it seems like there's lots more of those. And then our Honor Society just did a breakfast to support Paradise Elementary in California that was devastated from the wildfire. And we raised about $600, and we're going to buy school supplies with that to help the school.
Great.
And then I'm planning another round table for after spring break.
Do you have a date yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, Morgan.
Just to add to what Spencer said, our incoming senior class is doing another fundraiser at Field Day. We're going to sell Red Bull spritzers to make money for prom and homecoming.
Great, thank you.
I did think of something.
Okay.
I just went to the Reading Olympics up at Sand Hill, of course, because my son is a gold medal reader. And I'm going to say it right, but the Masons that come and they donate 4 bicycles to these kids. And
Wow.
I didn't get to see who got the 4th one, but 2 first graders and a 3rd grader. And the face on them, I just cry because I'm a wiener, but I'm crying because these kids' faces, and when they won, and they don't tell them ahead of time, and they're sitting out in the middle of this crowd of children, and it's packed, and they're all sitting on the floor, and one little girl gets up, and she's like, and she's totally freaked out, and she's running up there like, I want a bike, and you could see tears in her eyes, and it was just totally awesome. So, and those guys, I thanked them afterwards, but there's not enough thank yous to give to them, because they really do make a difference in those kids. They're reading for the gold medal, right? But they all really want those bikes.
Right.
So
Right.
it was pretty cool. It was amazing.
That's pretty amazing. My granddaughter did win one of those bikes.
Really?
At Sand Hill one year. She couldn't believe it. It was
That's
just
so
pretty
cool.
So let's go to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve or amend the agenda. You had something?
Oh, no, that's for the end of the meeting.
Okay. Anybody have a motion for the consent
I
agenda?
move that we accept the consent agenda is given.
Okay, it's been moved to accept the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
Comment or two?
Okay.
I don't have any things on there that I am particularly worried about. I've read through all the stuff, and but a comment on the one of, where was it? Student discipline, I guess. Yes.
Oh.
Classroom management, discipline, corrective action. I'm not going to get into a big, long story, but I had this particular story from 40 years ago with a kid that I did some stuff with, and whatever. The kid did some stuff to me, and I did everything right. And I'm looking through this, and because I've always known that what I did then would probably be frowned on now. I had to sit on the kid for a good couple of hours to prevent violence.
Good heavens.
But anyway, I'm looking through there, and I don't see anything that says I couldn't do that again.
You couldn't do
But-
anything like that unless you've been through specific training for
Ah.
student restraint.
Right.
Wow.
So anyway, that was just a minor comment. Otherwise, I noticed in the personnel report that we're picking up John Fullington. And I'm excited about that, just because I knew him, well, most of us did when he was here, when he played football and basketball, and I always thought he was a better basketball player than a football player, but so what? But I remember he, back then, had said he wanted to come back and coach here in North Mason. That was when he was in high school. And off he went, and he wound up, getting to that school that he likes over there on the eastern side of the state.
WSU?
Yeah, WSU. And then he went in, the pros and that sort of stuff like that. But I just remember, because I had some nice discussions with him, because I played basketball in the morning. I never played basketball with him. He would have, stuffed me. But I had good discussions with him, and that's when he told me about how I wanted to come back here, and now he's done that. Good for him. What a great story. And then there's another one on there, Tevin Cohen. I didn't know that last name, but I knew Tevin also. And I remember from scholarship time, sitting at a table with Tevin, and at the time who I guessed was Tevin's girlfriend. And curiously enough, this was one of those weird ones where Tevin got a really good scholarship to, go to Central, I think it was. And the girlfriend was not getting anything, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, towards the end, they announced that she had gotten like $48,000, and her mother, who was sitting at the table also, just broke down in tears. Didn't know about it. Was one of those really exciting surprise things, which you really don't want to surprise people there, because there's a lot of kids that don't get anything. In any case, that's where I remember Tevin from, because I presume that was his girlfriend who had gotten this enormous award and stuff. And then I ran into Tevin just before the Builders Club trip. And he was at the middle school, and he said now he's applying for para-educator, and well, we have a chance now to pick him up. And he's come back from graduating here not too long ago. Anyway,
Are they still together?
I have no idea, I didn't ask.
I was waiting, like,
Didn't
and they're
ask.
married and they have children. No.
I have no idea, didn't ask.
Yeah.
Wasn't any of my business, really.
Oh.
Then otherwise, I don't just had those comments to make. No questions that I wanted to bring up. So that's it.
Right. If there are no other comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and for the record, Director Patty is excused tonight, his absence. So let's move into the request to waive 2 school days.
Okay, so last month I gave you a heads up that, as you know, we missed 5 days during the February state of emergency snowstorm in Washington State. And we have made up 2 of those days already. We had a scheduled snow makeup day on February 19th. We had our regularly scheduled term turnaround day, which is a no student day, no paid work day for our teacher employees as well, because that's adds an extra day to that weekend, and teachers work on their grades and those kinds of things. But our NMEA agreed to have everybody come to work on that day, so we also did a snow makeup day on March 15th. So we got 2 of the 5 down. We have an additional scheduled snow day on June 19th, and we plan to have students in school that day. And we are applying for a waiver for the 2 remaining days. It's a little bit more simple than the typical 180-degree waiver application. The application, because of the state of emergency, it comes, instead of in a multi-step process, is really in the form of a letter to TJ Kelly, whom some of you may remember, at OSPI, and then his office will approve that. And so we're looking forward to it. In a way, it's kind of a gift for our staff, because they have been engaged so hard this year in building and developing and growing a multi-tiered system of support for all our students. And we needed additional time. We do need additional time to work with the whole staff and not just leadership teams to build those skills and prepare them to do even more work in the coming year. And now we will use the 2 days that students aren't here, if we get approved, with staff to do some very intensive professional development, planning, and preparation for furthering our process in developing schools that serve the whole child, whole school, and whole community for next year. So we're very excited about that. So the process now is I've drafted a letter, and it needs to be signed by me and one board member. So I already put Laura's name on the bottom since she's in charge tonight. And we will submit the letter tomorrow morning if the board agrees.
Okay, sounds like a great opportunity. All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the letter to request the waiver of 2 school days.
I'd like to move that we approve the snow day waiver letter to us, OSPI, and the contents on, to approve.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion?
I think it just, taking the snow days and doing the right thing, you know, and having the kids go to school as much as possible, and it shows a lot of responsibility. I mean, it's a really good thing, so I think this is reasonable.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. And now we are at the superintendent update.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to give you an update on, and we moved it around so it may come up later, but I don't see, oh yeah, it does. So I'll wait till we get to that in the agenda, the
Yeah.
flow analytics thing. However, as I mentioned, we've been working very, very hard. As you know, we started with some concerns raised by families about almost 2 years ago, almost a year ago now, about discipline and their students' needs and how their students' needs might be leading to some discipline. And we took that as an opportunity to really evaluate our schools and our programs and how we do things. And we identified that we had a need to develop the social and emotional learning of our students and the processes that we use to support that, to make some changes in student behaviors that lead to discipline, and also to ensure that all students have an opportunity to be academically successful. So we did a lot of data collection. We did some pre-planning throughout the year. Our instructional leaders, as well as leadership teams from each building, have been working to examine processes and practices and build a strong system. And you've heard 2 reports this year from Beth, who we hired to oversee that work for our district. And we have very powerful changes that we will be able to report on at the end of the year for the board. We're really looking forward to that, and growth and things that are coming to go forward. So, you know, we've tried some new positions to support kids in different ways with people, and some of those have worked, and some of those we need to make some tweaks. We've tried looking at our systems for how to identify triggers and help kids learn different coping mechanisms so it doesn't get to behaviors that lead to discipline. And we've looked at our discipline systems. We've looked at new ways to assess how kids are feeling, and as well as to assess their academics. And all of those things are coming together in a very powerful plan and sets of processes to support all the needs of kids, where, as you know, in the past we've primarily focused on the academic needs, and then we wondered why some of our kids aren't making progress when they've been coming to school with so many things going on that they can't even start to think. So I'm very excited about what we'll be able to share with you. One thing you may have read in the Kitsap Sun was an overview of state reports on the Healthy Youth Survey. Were released on Monday. And I have to admit, there is an area that I'm very proud of us, because our previous 2, since I've been here, because they come out every other year, have been fairly troubling in the attitudes within our community, or at least the kids' perceptions of those attitudes, about the use of substances, alcohol, marijuana, and illegal drugs as well as the abuse of legal drugs have been very permissive attitudes in the past. And for all of us, that's a concern because that can have such an impact on school. In this report, that has really turned around.
That's great.
And kids are reporting stricter attitudes on the adults that they are directly involved with, as well as on their own part. But we did have areas that were new and troubling, and I think are also part of the reason that we took this MTSS, this whole child journey. And so the questions about if you have ever considered suicide, the numbers around that were much higher than we would like to see. And some of the most troubling question, I think, was not only have you considered it, but do you have a plan?
Right.
And the numbers for, we take the survey in 6th and 8th and 10th grade. The numbers in 8th grade were particularly high. It is encouraging that by 10th grade that percentage has dropped. But these are different sets of kids, so we're not, can't compare apples to oranges. So certainly it's a data point that our buildings are looking at very seriously and working with kids. And you'll remember in the fall when we introduced the new SABRS assessment that we're doing to look at social emotional needs of kids, this really supports the same things that kids were reporting in the SABRS. So the Healthy Youth Survey gives us an overall picture. The SABRS helps us identify specific kids that we need to target with some supports. So I think it's not the kind of results we like to get, but it supports that we're probably moving in a very important direction for our kids. So.
And it's important information to have. I'm
It
glad
is.
that- yeah, I'm really glad you guys did that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still at the superintendent update.
I know, so I'm going to move into capital projects, and Mark was going to present on the stadium progress, but when we signed him up to do that, both Mark and the two of us forgot that this is his week to go to spring training every year. So I'll do my best to fill in. You do see the fee proposal for the proposals for the architects for the remaining part of the project. We do expect, and they're very reasonable. We do expect to be able to purchase the building actually all ready to go, and it's made at a factory and it comes here and they put it together, and have that in place by the beginning of practice in August for our fall sports. We will we anticipate the next step is to do the groundwork, and we will need a bid proposal for you all to accept, and so we anticipate that happening in April. I'm hoping for at the April board meeting, but if we have to schedule an additional meeting to do that, I will ask the board to do that, because that's really the only piece we have left to do. In the April board agenda, we also expect to have the actual costs of the building. We are purchasing that through our KCDA, so we won't be doing a bid proposal, but we will have the proposed contract for you all to approve.
Okay.
So that's where we are.
So do we have a budget status update?
We do.
Okay, so February, nice short month. We'll start with our update on all the other funds except for general fund. So as of the end of February, our capital projects fund ended at 2.6 million. So this is what we have left for the stadium, and then for the softball field that is currently, it's going to be looked at once we complete the stadium and see how much money we have left. Debt service, we're at just over 2 million now, and that's plenty to pay our debt obligations for the remainder of the year. ASB, they've started spending down a little bit of that money. We were seeing sort of a little bit of a hiatus as far as what they were actually spending, and so we've started to receive some invoices, and with their activities and such picking up, we're going to start to see that decrease. They're currently at 387 now. And then the Transportation Vehicle Fund, we're just under 51,000 currently. Through the consent agenda, you guys had approved the surplusing of some larger buses and smaller buses that will bring in some revenue to increase our transportation vehicle fund as well, and help offset the costs of the new bus purchases. That was also in the consent agenda. And then Maureen will be talking some about that when it's her turn to get up here. Enrollment, we're trending fairly steady with our enrollment. We're at 2,260-ish right now. That is still quite a bit over what was budgeted and the average as far as the actual budget goes. So now that we're past January, our apportionment is being paid out on actual enrollment each month. So if our enrollment increases, our apportionment is also increasing. So that's what we're seeing there. Now if we could go to the Forecast 5 dashboard. So as the general fund goes, there's nothing super alarming or surprising. We're still trending at about 11%, both on the revenues and expenditure side as far as fund balance goes. Our year-to-date revenues, they're trending just above 50% pretty much across the board. They're slightly over what was budgeted for this period of the year, which is based upon that increased enrollment, but nothing super alarming or unexpected in those areas. Our expenditures, again, we are slightly over what was budgeted. Again, that's due to negotiated salaries and benefits, and we are trending above the 8% minimum fund balance threshold, so that's also positive. And then if we want to go, if you want to jump 2 ahead, yeah, I just gave a brief summation of that one. So go to, there we go. So for February, you can see our blue line, our blue solid line is quite a bit above where we would normally see our fund balance during the month of February. That's a solid place for us to be at currently. We need to make sure that at year end we do have we have a solid fund balance to help offset any negotiated salary and benefits for next year, since we are negotiating with 3 groups, and that we have money set aside for any of the additional projects that we're looking at due to the growth of the district as a whole. So that's looking really good. And then the financial summary on the next page. Oh, I guess that would make sense.
She's getting there.
I totally didn't put two together, and I was like, it's not moving. Okay, so there we go. All of this is, it's all trending exactly where it should be. Any of the variances we're seeing are there for the exact same reasons that we were seeing the variances last month due to the increased enrollment. Right now, we are slowly cutting down on the difference of expenditures over revenue. So right now, when you look at everything as a whole, we're about $183,000 expenditures over revenues. Okay, so we've spent $183,000 more than what we've received to date. But this normally trues up during the summer months, because what happens is a lot of our federal funds that we end up collecting, there's a lot of spending that gets that happens during the spring months and into the summer. So we see larger collection of our federal funds during that time period. We still have quite a bit of federal funds to claim. And I've been working with the other administrators who are responsible for those funds to sort of look at what we're doing, shift some things around, and to allow me to be able to claim that money. And we're going to see that deficit sort of go away as I make those claims.
So you're not worried about this at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, nope. I'm definitely not worried about that.
It's just the red.
I know. The red is always scary, but that's why I like to mention the red, because if you look at the prior year, which is on the other side,
It was a bigger red.
way bigger red. So we're good. We've been really watching our spending next year to prep and in anticipation for next year, because next year will be our lowest revenue collection year in the 4 subsequent years, because we absorb that full levy swap next year.
Okay.
This year we only had half of it. So we're making sure to plan for that now, so we're prepared next year.
I
So-
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so the next page, and the final page, again, this just goes into more detail regarding where those red areas are coming from. We're adding about $100,000 a month to that certificated employees expenditure line based upon that negotiated contract. So as we trend out, we are expecting that to get up to about 1.4 million over what was originally budgeted due to the increase in the contract than what we had been anticipating. And then because we ended up doing a raise for classified as well, that's why we're seeing that red under the classified contract line is in addition to that. So that's where we've been trending for the month of February. March is looking super solid. We actually got some of our state forest dollars for the first time this year. Wasn't a huge collection, but I'll take anything. Last year we received almost 2 million there, and so far this year we had received 0. So when I finally saw it pop up on the apportionment report, I was super excited.
I can tell you right now, they're logging right around me.
We always like that.
I know. I like that because then I know we're going to be seeing a check soon, so I'll take it. And other than that, I'm now officially a local North Mason resident.
Woo! Right.
Yes, I moved to Tahuya
Welcome.
last week.
My
Thank
favorite
you.
place. Thank you.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
great.
Other than the fact that I found out they have no internet, phone, or TV,
Oh,
that's been difficult. But yes, we're figuring that
You're
out. So
past inland even? The
Oh.
inland telephone?
yeah, we're not far enough out to get inland. We're too
Oh,
close for inland,
That's
apparently.
interesting. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
are you on the water or?
Oh, we're on the Tahuya River.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
You should be able to get it. I know people down there that have
Yeah,
it.
yeah, we're having the realtor look into it, but yeah,
Yeah.
so we're now local.
Welcome.
Welcome
Thank
to the
you.
club. I have no telephone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.
I believe I caused some confusion by skipping around there and
It's
skipping
really
Ashley.
okay. It keeps us alive.
Yes, however, we do need to go back to the capital projects question. The question of the stadium quote for the
Yes.
professional services from the architects, and have you take a vote on, or ask for a
Okay.
vote on that.
All right. I'll ask for a motion
Okay,
to approve the contract, excuse me,
Mr. Chairman,
approve the Phil Stadium.
Okay,
The
Madam
field
Chairman, I propose that we accept the administration's recommendation that we approve the Phil Pugh Stadium quote.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
This is just a quote for the
The
design work,
architectural
the
work,
architectural
yes.
work, not for the actual building, right?
Right.
Just clarification.
Any other? Okay. All in favor?
Hi.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And thank you. As you know, that's a redesign because we determined that we didn't like the way the expenses were looking for tearing down the existing seating and rebuilding. So we got new design work to build new stands on the other side. And we'll maintain the existing with some upgrades. So it'll make our stadium much larger and more attractive, and
We could hold a
Save
Super
money.
Bowl.
We'll have
we
the-
could host something.
We'll have the finest visitor stadium in the world. They'll have a big, beautiful stadium, and we'll have the new one across the way.
So it's great. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is, as you know, we've been hearing from different experts in our region that we can expect really huge exponential growth over the next 5 to 10 years, and we've been getting a widely varying set of numbers, from double to quadruple to 10 times, and even double is scary when we're having to plan for new buildings and
Wow.
do the bond process and everything. But we decided we needed more scientific information. So we have a proposal from Flow Analytics to do that scientific study for us, and they look at a variety of information, gathering it for us, not just things that Ashley and I are able to do, like live birth rates and projections and formulas, but they also are able to look into the history and what's happening now and in the future in our region of building and revenue generating business growth and all of those kinds of things. They come up with a much more a very scientifically produced, much more true
Reliable, right.
forecast than somebody telling me, even though they're from a state agency, that we're going to have 10 times the size of our district in 10 years. So I think it's important that we get the best possible information. We know we're going to need to do a bond. The numbers that Ashley and I were able to put together, at a minimum, we see us growing to well over 2,600 within the next 3 years, which is a significant growth for a district our size and enough to need at least one more school besides replacing the one that we need to replace at this point in time. So it's time to get a really good forecast, and I'm asking the board to approve.
The contract.
Yep.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the contract with FLO Analytics?
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the contract with, what was initials?
Just FLO.
Okay, FLO Analytics.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. And transportation procedural changes.
Okay, we are so excited. You know how we are always whining at the state level about the cost of transportation and the unfairness of the model for reimbursing districts for transportation.
Right.
You also know that we are very proud of our new this year Transportation Director, Maureen Simmons, and Ashley came into my office practically bursting earlier in this month to let me know that when our apportionment adjustment happened, that one of the biggest adjustments was in the area of transportation in a
Yay.
positive way.
All
So
right.
I asked
Nice.
Maureen to come tell you about all the work she's been doing to make this happen.
Okay.
So, hi. So when I was hired in July, I was given the task of taking our department that was over budget and getting it in the black. That was my main task given me by Ashley besides running the department. And to do that, you have to look at it in a two-pronged process: increasing your revenues and decreasing your expenditures. That can be done in multiple ways. There we go. So to start with, one of the things that I looked at is the OSP, the reports we report to OSPI and what we need to report. One of the biggest one is student ridership. The common practice for how to get your numbers for student ridership is to pick a 10-day period during each of the quarters that we have to report in, and you at that point then you take your 3 days, and the middle day of the 3 best days is the day you report. The problem with that theory is that with sports and with activities that students have, you're not always capturing the best days, and you can't plan those 10 days all the time. What I found is that the drivers in transportation are already counting their students on a daily basis, and they're counting them in a way that works for OSPI for reporting. So I purchased them all clickers so they can make sure they're counting accurately, and I used the data that they give me on a daily basis, plugged it into a spreadsheet, and was able to find our best days more accurately. So right now, as you can see, this is our student ridership over the last 9 years. And in 2011, we were at 2608 in the fall, And that's total to and from transportation. So I
Okay.
know that number looks higher than our enrollment, so I want to point that out. That is to and from transportation. And it's gen ed and special needs
Okay.
combined. So we were at 2608 in 2011. We take a dip down for a couple years. And then in 2018, which is the years that I'm reporting, we're at 2752 in the fall. So we're at almost 150 students more riding the bus than we were in the year prior. And for spring, right now, we're trending at 2772. The other interesting piece that, because of the way that we're collecting the data, that I see is when I look at all the years together, you can see spring is the gray bar, and that is the lowest ridership. But right now for this year, we're trending that is actually the highest ridership quarter, because we were able to capture the data. Our date right now is our best day for ridership is February 20th, which is very early in the quarter.
Wow, yeah.
So you wouldn't necessarily capture that date on
Yeah.
a normal basis.
Right.
But that's the date that's currently our best day of ridership.
People were excited to be back after the snow day.
They were. 5 days off really affects ridership. You get the students are ready to get back to school. So that, I found that very interesting, that spring has historically been a bad quarter, and it's actually the best quarter that we're having so far. So the other piece to that is also the McKinney-Vento transportation. So if you could scroll up just a minute, Denise. Up. Nope, the other way. Sorry. Up, just a little more. Right there. The last column on those numbers there.
Okay.
This is our McKinney-Vento transportation. So these are our students that are out of district for multiple reasons. And those students we are required to transport. They're ours. We are their home school. However, we do ask the other districts to assist for the district that they actually live in, if they can assist us. If they can't assist, they can opt to actually have us bill them. The billing part hasn't been being done in years past. And so this year, so far, year to date, we've billed out $26,795
Nice.
in McKinney-Vento transportation
Excellent.
to the districts surrounding us, because that's where our students live. Last year, from January to June, we spent just under $30,000 on contracted services to transport those students. Comparatively, the beginning of this year, we had 2 students that needed transportation, and they only needed it for 3 days. So we used the contract service because that made the most sense time-wise. For those 3 kids to be transported for 3 days from here to Port Orchard, it was $582. If we had used one of our drivers, because of the cost of that transportation is $4.50 a mile plus an $8 administration fee per trip. That's to there and then back. Each of those is a trip. The savings would have been $239.52 to have one of our drivers doing it.
Oh.
So it's a significant change, and so this year that is the only time I've had to use the contract services is for those 3 days for the students.
Great.
Otherwise, we've been using our drivers. So we scroll down. Now we get to the driver's hours. You can see in 2011 we were at 911 hours is how we ended the year for our drivers. Right now we're at 857 hours for drivers on a monthly basis. And in 2011 we were at 29 buses and 51 routes. And if you scroll down, we are at 28 buses and 48 routes. So we have less hours for our drivers, but we're transporting more students. And so we're doing things more efficiently.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other piece for reporting to OSPI, the reporting of McKinney-Vento transportation has not been part of the report. In the last couple of years, mileage for our vans that we use to transport students is another piece that these are all little pieces, but they add up in our apportionment. Ensuring accuracy of our reports, making sure our fueling is accurate, our mileage is accurate. We report our field trip mileage. Even though it's not mileage that counts as to and from transportation, it still gets reported to OSPI. And so all of those things affect our apportionment. This here, because we did have purchasing and surplusing of buses on the agenda, I wanted to give you a quick synopsis of our fleet. So this is what our fleet looks like. And the green is the buses that by the end of, or by the middle of next year, I would like to have surplus. And 4 of them were on the agenda tonight. B4, B5, B27, and B36. As you can see, B4, B5, they're 26 years old. That's
Too old.
really old. Our buses are on the depreciation schedule. Big buses are on depreciation schedule for 13 years. So they're double the life of the depreciation.
So we're not getting any money for them anyway?
No.
Okay.
We stopped getting money after 13 years for them. So it costs us more to maintain them than they are worth. B27 has 346,000 miles on it right now, which is why it was selected over B24, because it has almost 50,000 miles more than that bus, even though it's a year newer. It also has several mechanical issues. So looking at the cost of repairing it versus surplusing it, it just made more sense. And this is another way of making things more efficient, because currently we have more buses in our fleet than we actually need for our transporting our students, and we're not getting money for them. They're not safe to transport the students. It makes sense to go ahead and surplus them, and as we need to grow our fleet, look at newer buses.
So those 3 green ones here on this left side,
Those are all large buses.
those not being used right now?
They are spares, so they
Okay.
get used if absolutely
Okay.
necessary.
And
But
and B24,
B24 is a spare bus.
is that coming on next year to go?
Depends on,
Okay.
our TVF fund cannot support right now, our TVF fund is very small.
Yeah.
And so we can only purchase maybe 1 bus a year, or 2 small buses a year. So
Okay.
it depends on where we're at.
Okay.
As we grow and as we replace buses, the more the TVF fund will grow, and then we can maybe get on a better schedule. So it's something that we're going to be looking at closely as to how to replace the buses and come up with a plan and what that looks like, and see where we can go from there.
So can we pull the engine out of one of those guys and give it to B36?
We can't, because the left side is big buses, the right side is little buses.
Okay, gotcha.
So on the left side, B36, it needs an engine, and B30, and it's 15 years old. The
Yeah.
little buses are only on depreciation for 8 years.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
that is nearly double the depreciation life as well. B34 needs fuel injectors and the injector module to control the injectors. So both of those repairs, you're looking at least $5,000 or more a
Are
piece.
they being used now?
They're in spares as absolute necessary.
Okay.
But we're trying really hard not to use them.
Yeah, okay.
B51 needs a turbo annually, and a turbo is anywhere between $2,500 and $3,000. And also an EGR cleaning, and that and then you also have mechanical time to
Yeah.
make those repairs.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
those 6 buses, and for the little buses, those 3 buses are going to go away, but they're going to be replaced with new buses.
Okay.
The new buses will be 3 wheelchair capable buses. They will have automatic chains. They will also have a 5-camera system in them.
Oh, nice.
So it'll be nice to be able to keep track of that.
And then insurance is paying for one.
Yes, and insurance is paying for 1 of the 3 buses. So we're only paying for 2 out of our TVF fund,
Awesome.
which is nice.
Yeah.
The other things that we're doing to streamline processes is field trips. We've gone from doing the triplicate forms to everything being electronic. The schools fill out an electronic form. The principals have to go in and actually approve them electronically. Transportation approves them. We do all the scheduling and invoicing electronically, and that has actually made things a lot faster for the accounting department as well, because everything is legible and all the account numbers are there, so they can do their part to bill out. And the schools, it gives us a tracking system of who's approved the field trips, and make sure that we're all on the same page.
Is that something that you initiated this year?
It's a program that we've had in the wings but not been utilizing.
Okay.
So we put it to use, and we've actually are upgrading it next year to
Sounds
a
pretty
better
efficient.
system.
Pretty efficient, yeah. Thank you.
The
When-
biggest piece with all of this is that we're operating 150,000 in the black.
There's the
What this
black
ends up.
again. Nice.
Yep, exactly.
So you met that goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is your evaluation.
Darn, I didn't know that part.
Well, and I did want to point out the apportionment change that we saw as a result of Maureen's attention to when we do count days was roughly $250,000.
$244,000.
Nice. Wow.
Wow.
So
Excellent.
her overall savings through all of this and new revenue generated, she brought in about $320,000
Oh,
new
okay.
revenue.
That's it. Good job. Wow.
We've been tracking it very, very closely. She gives me monthly updates on everything that she's doing to decrease revenue or decrease expenditures and increase revenue. So she's done a great job.
Really? Well, thank you very much.
Okay,
Yes,
any
thank you.
questions for me?
Does she get a cut for that?
You're in
No.
a public meeting.
Yeah, all right.
Public meeting.
Well, not only a thank you, but thank you for going and finding something that was already there and utilizing it and then making it better. I love that. I love finding, not reinventing a wheel, just making it better. So good job. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen. So next we have,
Well, I wanted to highlight the proclamation from Governor Inslee that the week we are currently in is School Retirees Appreciation Week. I won't read the entire proclamation. We unfortunately don't have any retirees here because it's probably too nice this week for them to come to a board meeting. But we are very proud of the people who work in our school district. And one of the things that I think we're most proud of, so many of them come back after retirement and continue to work in our schools or volunteer with our children. And without our retirees, we couldn't do all the great things we do for kids. So we're very thankful for them and for what they gave us as employees and how they continue to contribute after their retirement.
we are grateful, and I'm really thankful that they do come back because they're a familiar face for the kids in the classroom, and rather than a substitute teacher that they've never seen before, this person knows them and they know the retiree as well. So it's a win-win for everybody.
And some of them even serve on the school board.
Some of them do. Okay, so now we are at Community Linkage Planning and Message of the Month, and you all have a list of the community meetings and events there. And if you have any questions about any of those, you could probably check with the superintendent or her executive assistant. Upcoming board letter columnist is Craig Patty is up for this month, so I'll send him a nice text. And then it's John Campbell next month in May. No, Craig is up for April, and John for May, and then Leanna, you're on for June. So is there anything else that you have?
I don't.
Okay, so we're at Assurance of Organizational Performance and Policy Review. This is where we have a chance to look one more time at the two executive requirements that we approved last month. Does anybody have anything that they wish to comment on or add in terms of ER9, communication with the public, or ER12, student conduct and discipline?
I have one comment.
Okay.
Just in general, I appreciate that we do review these things regularly, annually at least, and I look forward to the changes actually that they're not easy, but they're not that hard, but they're worthwhile. Making the changes, particularly in that student conduct and discipline one, is really worthwhile. Keeping us more up to date in a sense.
Okay. Thanks, Art. All right, we are at the adjournment section of the
Did we
agenda.
skip over the WASD support, whatever? Number 5.
Number 5 is assurance of organizational performance and
Oh,
policy
what have I got
review.
here?
You have last month's agenda up there. It's okay, John.
Nice.
Do you have something you'd like to say about these?
No, if
Okay.
we're all good to go.
Okay, we
That's
do
just fine.
have an opportunity coming up here. So are there any comments for the good of the order from the board or the student board members?
Well, I'd like to say on the committee I've been serving on, advising the superintendent, it's a real eye-opener. It's one of the best visions I've had of how the system works. And we are here talking about such great things. We've been exposed to it in some way or another, the committee more, on how much high school students' performance improves when they have more sleep. So, you want to change the bus schedule? Well, what else happens when you change the bus schedule? So here you are weighing a whole variety of things between your science over here that says this looks like a good idea, and the practicality, what other moving parts get messed up, on this particular one when you do that. And I was just very impressed when I saw the complexity. It's like opening a door and looking at the motors, the generators at a great dam or something like that, in that you're seeing a whole variety of individual things come together, and where practical reason is going to have to take the day. I was just very interested in that, found it very educational.
Thanks, Sean. Anyone else? Leanna? Dana?
I have two things from Denise, sort of, and from Craig,
Okay.
since he's not here. We are, as you know, we're trying to schedule a board retreat to review our training in policy governance. And it looks like Friday the 5th is a day that could work for everyone. Timing of the day is difficult. I have afternoons that some people prefer. Craig prefers the morning. Art prefers the early afternoon, or maybe the morning. Can we
If it's a
determine?
Friday, I could prefer the morning.
Friday's the morning? Okay.
I'm open, whatever
Okay.
works for everybody.
And which month is that?
It's
April 5th.
Oh, April Fool would be perfect day for it.
April 5th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it right. No, you're talking about the morning? That sounds
Yes.
fine.
Leanna?
There's a webinar
yeah.
at noon I have to
Do that.
be a part of
April
because of the
5th.
legislative thing.
Yeah.
Morning,
What?
April 5th at what time?
10?
Retreat will be 3 to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours.
Okay, so
Okay?
you decide and just
Okay.
let us know.
We'll send you a start time. We'll check with our presenter and send you a start time.
Okay.
All right, that's awesome. Also, Craig asked that the board consider changing the April board meeting date to the 4th Thursday rather than our usual 3rd Thursday because of his new weird schedule at the fire department. He would have to trade days to be able to be here with someone. It would be easier for next month if we could make that adjustment so he doesn't have to find another captain or lieutenant to trade days with him.
So that would be April 25th rather than April 18th?
Yes.
Would that be okay with everybody? Would that work for you as
So we would meet
students?
on when?
April 25th.
Oh, okay.
Does that work for Spencer, Morgan,
So, okay.
Art? All right.
Yeah, if this is his new schedule, is it like something
It
we
changes.
push?
His schedule is 3 days on, 2 days off, 2 days on, 3 days off.
Oh,
It's different
wow.
every
Crazy.
time. So he's been trading some, but he's traded so many, he'd like to have a month of not doing that so he doesn't wear out his
Trade.
Yeah.
trading
Yeah, no,
partners.
Okay. All right, so let's just set that date then for April 25th. And let's see, the board self-assessment of this meeting, according to policy governance, at the end of every meeting, we have a self-assessment, which one of the directors will do, and it's going to be Director Trotzer tonight. So,
Woohoo! I don't have a paper, but I would,
you don't have a paper?
it's not here. It might be with.
Maybe I have it
It's
over
not
in
in
this
mine.
pile.
I was checking my packet,
I saw somebody had it.
unless I missed a paper. I usually don't, the one that goes, oh, I missed it, but I only have.
Do you have it? Oh. I don't have it in any of this paperwork.
Is it under my chair? Surprise!
Okay, well,
Well,
deliver your assessment
I
at the
think
next meeting.
that our meeting, we all stayed focused and we all participated and nobody was overbearing, and I think that we, there we go, we have it right here where the agenda was well planned and in focus, the board followed the agenda, board member prepared for and contributed to the meeting. The meeting proceeded without interruptions and distractions. The board's deliberations and decision-making processes were public, and participation was balanced. Members listened attentively, avoiding side conversation. Work was conducted in an atmosphere of trust and openness, and meeting participants treated each other with respect and courtesy. And I give us a satisfactory for all of those. And then can you scroll down just a little bit? Oh, no. Well, just read them off the board here. It's actually even easier for me to see. The board actions occur at the policy level rather than the operational level. The board reviews policy about each topic before discussing the issue. In writing additional policies, the board starts with a broad statement and becomes more detailed and logical and discipline sequence, and I think that's the one that I usually NA, because we didn't actually, well, we review
We
and
did
change,
review,
but we
yeah.
didn't write a brand new one. The board minimizes time spent monitoring the past performance, and the board routinely dedicates time to reviewing, improving its own process, and the board clarifies priorities, values, when considering potential outcomes, beneficiaries, and cost of outcomes. The board follows an annual calendar based on a plan for doing its work. And the board chair helps the board efficiently conduct its meeting, and thank you, Laura, for
Here,
stepping
here.
up
Thank
today.
you, thank you.
The board spends most of its time deliberating issues, defending and clarifying its vision, and linking with its community, as opposed to fixing things. And the board supports the superintendent in any reasonable interpretation of its policies. Yes, absolutely. And I give us a yes and the NA for the writing additional policy there. And overall, I call it satisfactory.
Thank you, Leanna. All right, our next board meeting date will be April 25th here at 6:30. And if there are no other comments, meeting is adjourned, and thank you all for coming.
So how did I end